Alrighty, everyone. So today, some things that were just going nuts on Twitter related to the Eagles game that just happened yesterday, the second preseason game, where there's a series of rather unfortunate images that were circulated through Twitter with individuals holding signs, a guy selling a t-shirt, and some guys wearing some what people would consider probably distasteful t-shirts as well that we kind of have to talk about. So first and foremost, we have this gentleman here holding a sign, I blurted out just because. But I think you guys all kind of know what it says at this point, or you'll be able to find it on Twitter if you want to. But in this particular case, this guy made up a sign with a magic marker, apparently, and held it there. Somehow got it into the stadium. That's the part that I'm really concerned with. And I bet you there are people in the Brown security team that are currently having a stern talking to how this guy got this particular sign in the stadium. Now, what he could have done is just got a sign into the stadium and then snuck in magic markers and made the sign in the stadium, I guess. But either way, how do you get a big piece of paper like that in, or a big piece of cardboard, whatever the heck that is? How do you get that through security? And they say, yeah, you can bring in a big piece of paper. It says nothing on it or blank. That's pretty weird. But I think the big point is here, it was a fairly distasteful joke, I guess you could call it. And the really bad part too is included his kid in it, which I assume is his kid, right? So that's the kind of bad thing about this. And I think that made a lot of people share their opinion, myself included. I shared this originally saying that, this is the pinnacle of bad parenting. Then when it got a lot of engagement, I ended up deleting it because I just feel like the guy's getting piled on. And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but I just decided not to do that. Now, I did want to have some. Now you're saying, well, you're making a video about it. Well, yeah, but I got some other points I'm going to make about this video. With this particular individual, if you want to be, a knucklehead and you want to make a sign that you think is funny and stand in front and get a picture taken in the stadium with it, I don't necessarily have that big of a problem with it. Because you're making the decision to do that. You're making the decision to take on whatever consequences come along with you expressing, your opinions or whatever joke you're trying to make. But when you include the kid in it, that obviously doesn't really know what's going on or think that's okay, that's where a lot of people are going, that made them very uncomfortable, cringing at the very least, and really going to the standpoint of like saying that this is the reason why women can't come out and speak out against abuse when they've suffered it, the real victims, because they're going to get mocked and ridiculed by people like this. So there's a lot there's a lot of complexity that goes into this. I will tell you, I looked up the guy. There's articles written about him with his name, with what he does in his career, with, all this stuff in there. And it's like, it's unfortunate that he's not only been dragged on Twitter, but then also these articles that are going to exist possibly forever that have his name in it and say like, this is the guy who put that picture out there, a poster out there. So it's like, it goes to show that anytime that you're going to go out there in public, you have every right to express your opinions or say whatever you want to say, right? There's those people who put up those horrible signs about, about God, this and that, hating certain people from churches, who stand outside of Comic-Con. Like there are consequences to that. And in this particular case, this guy's really feeling it. He had a YouTube channel with a couple hundred subscribers. He had Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. All of them are gone. Every account, every social account's gone. You cannot get in touch with this guy in any capacity. But you can Google still remembers, even if you delete stuff, Google, it's still in there for a while. Plus people can screenshot stuff. So these things are going to exist. And unfortunately, this guy's going to have to bear the consequences of sharing what I'm sure considered to be a joke. I would hope he would just consider this a joke and not really be, a dagger in the heart of these women who came forth and accused Deshaun of doing what they said he did. Again, I'm also not trying to take a stand on that or make this about the allegations for Deshaun. It's more about this particular individual, including his son, in this, which is really, the unfortunate thing about this. Now, next, we also had the t-shirt guy. So this particular individual also was out there actually selling a t-shirt that had I guess a bit of profanity on it, saying also give me a massage, which again goes to the whole Deshaun Watson situation, selling these outside of First Energy Stadium in the walkway as you head towards the stadium. Now, again, with this one, I'm sure the Browns security team and people are probably going to be now heavily alerted and be on the lookout for anybody wearing anything that could be controversial around the topic or, you know, selling stuff. I don't know how much jurisdiction they have outside of the stadium, but I'm pretty sure in order to sell anything outside of anything on public property, you have to have some sort of permit. So they might have, you know, the team and the stadium and security, they may be alerting police to be looking out for these sort of characters out there doing this stuff. But nonetheless, I think everybody can pretty much consider this to be distasteful. And, you know, at worst, it goes beyond that. But really, this is another thing that's out there. And this is making, for anybody who's buying these shirts, wearing them, it's making all Browns fans look terrible. But, you know, just getting pictures like this. And I saw McNeil is making memes of it now, which, you know, at least something can come out of that. But it is the unfortunate thing. And then finally, you've got some Eagles fans who were out there who ended up wearing a Bill Cosby shirt that somebody photoshopped Bill Cosby onto Deshaun's, you know, I guess jersey, or maybe that is Deshaun's body, I don't know. And then saying like no more happy blankings and, you know, smiling, drinking some beers. And apparently what happened during the game was somebody from the team or somebody from security came and asked them to turn the shirts inside out. So they weren't happy. Maybe the fans around there weren't happy. So, but this is par for the course. This is what the Browns signed up for. The Haslams signed up for this. When you go after the circus and you go after something that is it is a media circus, which is the Deshaun Watson situation. It touches on a lot of really emotional topics, and this whole situation that went into bringing him in, and the more details that had come out about it, you know, this is what you're going to have to live with for a while. Hopefully, eventually this goes away once everybody's like, yeah, haha, we get the joke. But hopefully you're not going to see too much more of this. But this is what you signed up for. And they're going to see this sort of stuff. This is in the Brown Stadium. This is First Energy. This is in Cleveland, right? So they do have a little bit of control over what goes on in there. But in an opposing stadium, that it's going to be fair game. If the opposing team wants to come in, and let's say this game was in Philadelphia, if the opposing Philadelphia, you know, team or stadium decides like, hey, we don't want you to wear that, maybe they'll do it. I doubt it though. They're going to be booing. They're going to be calling. They're going to be yelling stuff. It's just like in the first Panthers game where Deshaun was out there. He got a little taste of that. Anytime you do something that allows opposing fans to throw it in your face in a situation such as this, like, you're going to have to live with that. And so that's kind of the thing. Now, I think the other piece of it that's really unfortunate that goes along with this is there are actual victims out there of abuse, that these sorts of things bring back memories or bring back traumatic events that happened to them in their life. And, you know, I'm not saying that Deshaun is guilty or innocent. I have no idea. I wasn't there. But the fact that it is such a critical topic, you know, there are plenty of men and women who have had experiences that this brings back a lot of those traumatic events for them, and they have to deal with that, which you shouldn't have to do if you go to a football game or some sort of entertainment venue. To be constantly reminded of something that was terrible or some traumatic event that happened in your life is obviously really not what you want to do, right? It's counter to what you're actually trying to do with sports and entertainment, which is get an escape from actual life, right? And to be entertained by it. But on top of that, it's the other people that even live in Cleveland or the greater Cleveland area when they're not even football fans. They might just be watching the news at night, and then they show highlights, and then Deshaun Watson throws for 4 touchdowns. And then, you know, they're like, great, now I have to think, and I hear that name Deshaun Watson, that conditions me to think back to that traumatic event that happened. And again, not saying he did anything. I don't know. He wasn't charged with anything criminally. And the more details that come out with it, you know, it just looks, it is what it is, right? He's sitting his 11 games and he's paying a fine and he's settled with most of the women. I think there's one left. But listen, I mean, it still doesn't change the fact that it does bring up very emotional, deep scars with some individuals that have to now experience this. So I think long story short here is, you know, if you're going to go out there, you're going to express things, you know, whether you're holding a sign or wearing a t-shirt or something like that, there is going to be potentially consequences that come along with that, where not everybody's going to get the joke or think it's as funny as you think it is. And, you know, as somebody who's been, you know, I have been dragged before online and Twitter. It is not a fun feeling. It's pretty awful, especially when somebody takes something that or interprets something that you're saying in a completely backwards way just to make your point or label you as something which you're not. But because they disagree with you, and they will go and they'll get the mob of people to come after you, and everybody will just say, this is what you are. Like, I've been there. It's scary, especially for somebody who has a career outside of YouTube or outside of Twitter, or, you know, all of that. So I've learned that lesson many times over. And it's never fun when you're going through it in the moment. It's actually really, really scary when you're going through it, because you think about, what are people thinking about you, and what could happen to your life, and what are all the things you could lose because somebody misinterprets something you're saying, right? Or unfortunately for these guys, or for, you know, the t-shirt guy, or these guys, and hopefully not this kid, like, they're feeling this right now, like wiping yourself with social media, not being out there, you know, hoping it all goes away. And I really honestly hope that it does go away. I think everybody's seen this now. Everybody's expressed their opinion. I hope there's no threats. I hope there's no nothing. I hope this guy can go on with his life and just say, hey, listen, he made a mistake. Everybody can make a mistake and get through that and get a second chance. A lot of people have. Hell, Deshaun has. He's getting a second chance. He clearly admitted he made mistakes. So if Deshaun can get a second chance, so can these guys. And, you know, I hope everybody thinks about that, and nobody does anything stupid here, because threats or, you know, whatever can come out of these things, because there's, you know, this is the internet and crazy things happen on the internet. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope everybody stays safe and happy and healthy. We got one more preseason game to go, then a little bit of time off, final cuts of the roster, and on to Carolina to face Baker in week 1. So we'll talk to you guys all soon. Go Browns.